He carried on.
At the time I was in
Parliament. Home was where her parents were.
He was chairman
Once
of
the
the
parents were gone, there was a barrier between us.
When I retired, I decided that I didn't want to sit at home all day just twisting my fingers. And I went to university in Holloway Road and did a foundation course in Irish Studies. That's been the rather nice thing about the university, that having decided that my Irish history was very lacking, I've met some wonderful people with lovely stories about them coming to London and their experiences. And so it has been two-way. In fact, the circle has almost closed, I suppose, really. Having arrived and feeling a little resentful, I'm now back in the fold and feeling how great it is.
Staying in a house, but home was where her parents were.
My name is Connie Shanahan, as far as I know. I have bear that name for 91 years, going into 92. I should think it will last me until I reach the maturity of old age. When that year will come, I do not know.
At that time, the war was just over, like, you know, and expecting something better than what we had at home, like. There was no work in Dublin anyway.
I travelled over on New Year's Eve and landed in Wales just after midnight on the 1st of January 1953.
About 1956, with a friend of mine off the street where we lived. We had ticket money and X number of pounds, thinking we were going to do well.
I came to better my professional status.
Oh, I only came for a couple of years. I was going to have a bit of fun and go back home again. I'm still here.
Got to London and sort of nobody waiting for us, nothing happening. You know, the streets paved with gold wasn't going to happen for us.
I left Ireland on the 1st of July 1938.
And the reason you left Ireland?
There was no employment over there, and I already had a family. A number of my family were already in England.
Right.
And I decided that there was nothing else for me but to leave. I didn't like it.
You didn't want to leave?
Who does?
Coventry was a desolate place at the time. It was very hard to get lodgings because the whole place was knocked down during the war. It was just a few years after the war, of course, 1952.
We left Dublin one night, I think about 9 o'clock. We left the harbour in Dunleary on one of the mail boats, as they were called then, and arrived in Holyhead.
I came over to London first in 1977. The reason why I came over, the big convent schools where I worked, they were closing down.
Arrived at Euston with my suitcase, tied with some string.
On your own?
On my own. Did the whole journey on my own, actually, which was quite scary in a way, because it's the first time I'd been out of Ireland at all.
I went straight to London, tried to get digs. But on the notice boards was the usual, no blacks or Irish need apply.
Yes, I was born in London. My mother was from County Armagh. My father's parents were from Tipperary, both from Tipperary. Daddy was born in London as well. But he was very nationalistic. He had the Fáinne. He taught, learned Irish, taught Irish, and they regarded Tipperary as home. London was just a stopping off place.
There was 4 million people out of work when I arrived in London. The financial depression was bad in Ireland. It was bad in America due to the financial depression, which occurred about 1929, lasted on until Hitler started slinging his bombs around Europe, and then there seemed to money came alive then.
It's quite economic.
So you're off to the St Patrick's Day parade. Have you been before?
Yes, way back, I think in the early 50s, we used to go. In those days, Irish people just turned up, and I think from tradition, just marched or went to a place from to Southwark Cathedral for Mass. I think that was the extent of the St. Patrick's Day parade early on.
Yes, there was more of a religious emphasis.
Religious thing,
yeah,
definitely,
because
yeah,
you would,
yeah.
and it was to Southwark Cathedral originally that we marched.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why Southwark Cathedral?
Well, even though there's
But I think that had been the last resting place of Terence McSweeney. I think that was where his body had rested.
well, I think he got a better reception there than he did from
from Westminster.
Westminster Cathedral.
Very good to see representative from Scotland when you hear so much of the anti-Irish atmosphere and criticism that prevails in Scotland in different places. Yes. So it's very good to see. It is.
A vast metropolis, never worked before on the farm and completely lost, didn't know which way to turn. Didn't know even how to go about getting work, and just wandered for a couple of weeks.
But when I came over, there was the jobs for the begging. There was so much unemployment. There was no unemployment.
I got a job very quickly. Worked with the Finance Agency in Parade Street, Paddington. Moved around London quite a bit. Worked in the Ford Motor Company in Regent Street, the Kodaks, and various other places. What's now Prince's Food. I worked there up near Waterloo.
I got off the train at Euston. I walked out into Devonshire Street. It was Sunday morning. I didn't know where I was. I walked up and down Devonshire Street, up and down on Camden High Street. They all run in the one parallel. And I walked up and down there nearly all day Sunday. And I went into a pub in Devonshire Street called the Madhouse. I met three of them in there. They weren't mad. In 8 o'clock Sunday night, I was squared up for the lie down, and I got a job at Tuesday morning.
I got it through the Daily Telegraph, the Prudential Insurance Company. I had the job, and then when I came over, they gave me an interview and so on, and I was offered a job there in a dressograph department. There were about 20 girls there, and it was all right. They were very nice people, very pleasant, but they were only there for pin money, whereas I was there to work.
I had a cousin over here who had just got married, and he arranged accommodation for me in Kilburn.
I found somebody in Camden Market who took an interest in me, and he gave me stuff to sell from his stall in the market to get me a couple of bob, and he gave me gear to sell. That's how I started off surviving economically.
Something I've never seen.
We got a job on a power station in South Wales. It was known as the Uskmouth Power Station for a firm called John Morgan. And it was a very strange experience for me. I'd never worked on a big concrete job. And looking back on it now, we were never given any, we were just taken on, told to get out onto the site. We were given no fundamental or basic training in how to behave ourselves on a job at that magnitude.
I know now that I was homesick, but because of the crowds, on a hot July evening in High Holborn, it was terrible. All those crowds and not a soul I knew. Now, I couldn't walk 20 yards down the road at home, but I knew people. And it was so hot and so confused and so crowded.
I worked for him for a year, in which I was a chauffeur, art director. When we were looking for some business. He introduced me as his art director, production artist, general factotum.
But you saw people killed?
Oh, geez, yeah, I seen a fella walking off, big fella walking off a precast beam, and if it's Sunday morning, we were only at the starting in Gatwick Airport. I think he was Tipperary. Oh, he's a fine man, he was about 6'4", 6'5". They were 18 stone. And he hit the ground like a ton of bricks. He never moved. Never moved. He splattered all over the concrete down the bottom when he hit the ground.
Did he have a family?
Oh, you wouldn't know that, like, you know. The Irish were very close with that, but sure, you wouldn't know whether they were, you know, whether you were talking to Paddy Murphy or Paddy Riley. You know, we always had 3 or 4 names. So you could never, you'd only say, hello, Mick. But that's as much as you could be walking with him for 10 years. If you ask the second name, it's a belt in the mouth you get. That's the truth, like, you know, there was no, you never asked him any second name.
A very old-fashioned pub where they had that lovely room in the middle with the bar all around it. And I was in the bar. My husband, I was always in the saloon bar. My husband said not in the public bar. And somebody, I don't know whether he was the worst for drink or whether it was because of my Irish accent, but he did try and clamber over the bar and told me to get back where I belonged.
There used to be a camp on the site, which saved you from going into bad digs. Usually the grub, although it was rationed in Britain, there was severe shortages in some places. But once you were on the camp, there was no rationing. Although maybe meat and eggs and stuff like that might be short, the other stuff like porridge and bread and plenty of potatoes, vegetables, cabbage, etc., etc. It kept you going.
Yes, I like that.
I thought it was quite suave and debonair and not the conventional type that you see around Cayley's, you know. He was a bit more refined, I thought, and he was good fun. And
she never told me that.
Yeah, and he was outgoing, and I felt a little attraction there, I'm sure.
So how did you manage to fit in work when you were rearing 3 children?
Well, at the time I was in the watch game, and they were very good that way. The manager, he was Swiss, he used to let me start early. I had the keys to the place, so I could start at 7. By then I could have got them up and away to school. And I would come home early, and then I'd be with them all the time, cooking and whatever. So yeah, we went on holidays, always to Ireland, drove over and back. You know, you think it's fair, but you don't know what they need. You know, a guy doesn't really know what children emotionally need. You know, so you think they're all right, but maybe it's all building up inside of it.
Where did you marry?
In Muswell Hill, Our Lady of Muswell, the church up there. And we had our honeymoon in Spain on a lambretta in a tent.
Gosh.
Yeah. Very exciting. Full of adventure and misadventure.
I was married with my first wife then. But unfortunately that didn't work out, so I was left with the 4 kids. She went off with somebody else. I suppose he had more to offer than I had. But anyway, 1970, when bringing the children home, It was a friend of mine was bringing the children home. Unfortunately, Paul, the second boy, he slipped up on the pavement, and as he slipped up, there was a sheriff with his car going by, and one of his hubcaps came off, hit the boy in the head. Died 3 days after.
And did you marry an Irishman?
I did, actually.
And whom you met in?
Who I met in this country through, he had known my sister, and I was in a cinema queue with a friend of mine, and I thought, I know that voice, and I turned round and it was Pat, my husband. My sister and he had stopped seeing each other many, many years previously, so I just invited him to tea, and he actually eventually did come to have tea, and we started going out, and I told him I didn't want to be serious. I had no intentions of getting married at all, absolutely none. But we gradually got to know each other better and eventually got married. St. Joseph's in Highgate.
I was working in Holland.
In Holland?
Yeah. Refurbishing Nesso refinery. And unfortunately, my wife was over. 2 of the children came. 3 of them came. The eldest was 16. And she was able to travel with the other 2. And she was there in a week when I came home from work and she was dead on the floor.
Your wife?
Yeah.
Shock?
Yeah. My younger daughter was with her at the time, luckily. And she said she knew she was dead because she didn't brush the fly away that was on her hand. Cerebral aneurysm.
Well, there were various reasons that a lot of Irish girls went to be nuns at that time. One of the reasons was there weren't a lot of jobs for girls. It's quite economic idea to go and be a nun. If you didn't want to be married, you had the other option. Nowadays it's different because there are so many options for girls nowadays. Irish girls now are running their own businesses, flying their own airplanes sometimes, driving their own cars, and generally they are not very keen to get married either or to become nuns because they have it too good.
I had a great social life living in Kilburn. I suppose in a way it was connected with the church because I suppose coming from Ireland, it was the one place you went to get hoping to meet kindred spirits or Irish people generally, and we got involved in an organisation or a church organisation called the Legion of Mary, where we used to visit people and that sort of thing. But in fact, what I found and what we all found is we were all in it for the social aspect rather than the idea of doing good or whatever.
We joined the Labour Party, and after a couple of years he was invited to be a councillor, which he was, and this is where his own rally to him. He got the highest vote that had been owned in Leighton because all the church community rallied, even those who had been voting Tory before. They said, "Oh, we'll vote for you this time." So anyhow, he was elected, and he carried on, I don't know, for about 30 years in local government. He was chairman of major committees, he was leader of the council at one time, he was the last mayor of Leighton. He was very active in his trade union.
My church is very important to me and my religion is very important to me. My son says, "Oh, you love a mass, Mum," when I'm saying I've just come back from mass or whatever. And he's a little bit not derogatory or ridicule or anything. It's just that they're out of the mould. Our children, except my daughter, she goes because she has children, and they feel, you know, obligated to go. But on the whole, they are not into the practice of their faith, which is a shame as far as we're concerned.
Did you attend church at all?
I used to go to Mass, but I don't go now.
You don't go now?
No.
What made you give up?
Well, what do you think?
All those hundreds of years, they fought to get the right to practice their faith, and they throw it away in one generation.
They'll come back, I think. You know, it's an interim period. They'll come back when there'll be some trauma in their lives or whatever. I don't suppose they are out of the state of grace, but they are somewhat rejecting it all. And I don't think they know altogether why they're rejecting it, or they can put a finger on it, but it doesn't seem to be, you know, of any great joy to them.
None of us here know what the hell we are, or what we pursue on a Sunday, or what church we go to, and neither do we care. We're all people, and we like each other, and we don't care one sod where the hell we go to on Sunday, or if we go anywhere at all except lie in bed. We're not interested. We're interested in the person, what vibes they give off to us, and not what blooming religion we pursue and all the rest of it, you see. And this is the great knocker, you see, and it's picked up. It's picked up, you know. The mere mention of Northern Ireland, the religion. Well, listen, us here, we know perfectly well it's not the religion. That we've all friends. We all know where we come from. We're Irish, and that's it.
Yes, there's much more of a carnival atmosphere to it now today from the old parades that I remembered, which would have been not solemn, but a different sense of occasion, I think. Very good, very enjoyable now, very favourably impressed now, I have to say. I really enjoyed it, and it really became very celebratory altogether now. It was great, yeah.
Did you
felt
feel
like
emotional?
a great welcome. Yes, I did. I felt this is really, I felt part of it, yeah.
Oh, it's lovely. I'll never see that like. It's smashing memories.
Do you think you'll be able to sleep tonight now with all those memories?
Well, I had to get a few points. I tell you, very dry walk this, at this television walk. Very dry walk.
I will fare egreba magarish gunta mishe yemenachnik atabaite furflik o hier hul schleta is glaunta.
I'm a lost Irishman because I'm a foreigner here and I'm a foreigner in Ireland now at my age, you know.
No, I'm always Irish. That's the land of my birth.
Yeah.
My mum is buried back there. I intend to be buried back there myself.
You do?
Oh,
do?
yes.
Oh, well,
my mum is there on her own.
Right.
And I would like to go back and be buried with my mum.
That's lovely.
Because she couldn't be left alone on her own for centuries.
Yeah, I'm Irish.
Where would you say your homeland is?
It'd be Ireland if I get the right opportunity.
You'd like to go back?
Oh, I'd go back.
I might not get married. I might have, if I'd gone to America maybe.
I told you before, I'd do the same thing again. Wouldn't change. Even though it was hard, I wouldn't change, no. No. Especially when you had the family around and all this was sound. Then when you stop having the crack.
My home is here now because of my family.
But home is Ireland.
The spiritual home, I suppose, is Ireland. Our physical home is here, and our immediate responsibilities are here. But my spiritual home, I'd say, would still be Ireland.
But home is where her parents were. Once the parents are gone, there was a sort of a barrier between us and death. Now that barrier is gone, and we're the barrier to our kids, hopefully. So, home is where the heart is.
As Sheila, that's one of my daughters, said to me once, "Mum, you've never left it." I said, "Since I left Ireland, I did so and so." She said, "You've never left it." And of course she's right. I haven't. To the end, I shan't.
Would you, when the time comes for the Creator to call you, would you like to be buried in Ireland?
Oh no, that's it. I mentioned that I saw my mother's coffin being treated like cargo, and I thought, no. Now that was her wish, and we were very happy, and even the grandchildren, we always go and visit the family grave, and even the grandchildren do. But no, we've got a niche in St. Patrick's Cemetery in Leytonstone.
Right.
My husband's there.
Yeah, he's there. He'll be next to your husband.
My brother's there. My sister's there. 2 sisters. Yes. Yes, we're in London for better or not. Yeah.
I think that we are responsible for this to a large extent, us that were born in Ireland, that we put the London Irish or the whatever Irish you are, Birmingham Irish, and that we put them at a distance. We don't welcome them in the same fashion, you see, that this horrible word that is spiteful, disdainful word that people have of saying plastic. I question this, and anybody who utters that sort of thing, I've got 1,000,001 put-downs, and they should not be allowed to do this.
To call us plastic paddies.
To plastic paddies, because they are just as good. I would hate anybody to say that to my family. And they would get my wrath both verbally and physically, because I don't believe in that. I'm very proud of my family.
Shirley, do you have a sense of belonging in Britain?
Yes, I do. I'm very proud of the fact that I was brought up in the west of Ireland. I have a great love for Ireland, but I also have a great love for London. If somebody said to me about England, I'd have to say, well, yes, I like England and I'm happy here, but I just love London because I love cities. And I can remember you asked earlier on about my impressions when I first came to London. And the first time I went down the Underground, awesome, absolutely awesome. But then I came out at Piccadilly. It was a summer's evening. It was all the neon lights, and there was beautiful sky with all the stars. They looked like stars to me. Something I'd never seen, a totally different aspect to the west of Ireland. So yes, I love London, and quite honestly, I don't think I want to live anywhere else.
Met my folks croft. Dreamed a dream by the old canal. I kissed my girl by the factory wall. Dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town, dirty old town. Thank you.
He carried on. I
time
don't
I
know,
was
about
in
30
Portland,
years.
That was where her parents were.
He was chairman
Most
of
of
the
the parents were gone. That was a barrier between us and
When I retired, I decided that I didn't want to sit at home all day twisting my fingers. And I went to university in Holloway Road and did a foundation course in Irish Studies.